Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Rajesh Kher, studying in Venkateshwar College of Engineering. Now I am here to explain about digital communication. Introduction. Modulation is a definition as the process of superimposing on a low frequency signal as a high frequency carrier signal. The process of varying the RF carrier wave in accordance with the information in a low frequency signal. Modulation and demodulation to involve data information or speech information. Another wave has to be imposed known as input signal above the carrier wave. This process of imposing an input signal on a carrier wave is known as modulation. Put differently, modulation modifies the shape of a carrier wave to encode the data information that we have intended on carrying. Modulation is similar to hiding code in the carrier wave. Techniques using to digital TV broadcasting. Here are some modulation techniques used to digital TV broadcasting. Amplitude shift keying, a digital modulation technique that transforms the original signal and the carrier signal. Quadratic amplitude modulation, a modulation technique that combines both analog and digital techniques. The signal that results from modulation varies in both amplitude and phase. Frequency shift keying, a digital modulation technique that changes the frequency of analog carrier waves to match the digital message signal. Phase shift keying, a digital modulation technique that conveys data by changing the phase of carrier wave with a constant frequency. Phase modulation, a modulation technique that is often used to digital transmission coding schemes and satellite television. It is also widely used for transmitting radio waves. Amplitude shift keying. Amplitude shift keying is a form of amplitude modulation that responds digital data as variations in the amplitude of a carrier wave. In a ask, a symbol representing one or more bits is sent by transmitting a fixed amplitude carrier wave as a fixed frequency for a specific time duration. For example, if each represents a single bit, then the carrier signal could be transmitted at nominal amplitude when the input value is 1, but transmitted the reduced amplitude or not at all when the input value is 0. Any digital modulation scheme uses a finite number of distinct signals to represent digital data. ASC uses an infinite number of amplitudes, each assigned a unique pattern of binary digits. Usually, each amplitude encodes a equal number of bits. Each pattern of bits forms the symbol that is represented by the particular amplitude. The demodulator, which is designed specifically for the symbol set used by modulator, determines the amplitude of received signal and maps it back to the symbol it represents, thus recovering the original data. Frequency and phase of carrier are kept constant. Quadrature amplitude modulation. Quadrature amplitude modulation is the namely of family of digital modulation methods and related family of analog modulation method widely used in modern telecommunication to transmit information. It conveys two analog message signals or two digital bit streams by changing or modulating the amplitudes of two carrier waves using the amplitude shift keying, digital modulation scheme, or amplitude modulation analog modulation scheme. The two carrier waves are the same frequency are out of the phase which is each other by 90 degree and condition known as orthogonality or quadrature. The transmitted signal is created by adding the two carrier waves together At the receiver, the two waves can be coherently separated because of their orthogonality. Another key property is that modulations are low frequency, low bandwidth waveforms compared to the carrier frequency, which is known as narrowband assumption. Frequency shift keying (FSK). Frequency shift keying is a digital modulation technique in which the frequency of the carrier signal varies accordingly to the digital signal changes. FSK is a scheme of frequency modulation. The output of FSK modulation wave is high in frequency for a binary high input and low frequency for the binary low input. The binary ones and zeros are called mark and space frequencies. The following images is the diagrammatic representation of FSK modulation waveform along with the input FSK modulated output wave to be find process of obtaining FSK modulated wave. Digital bytestorm high frequency carrier wave, low frequency carrier wave, FSK modulated wave are the four waveforms. Phase shift keying (PSK). Phase shift keying is a digital modulation technique in which the phase of carrier signal is changed by varying the sine and cosine inputs the particular time. PSK technique is widely used for wireless LANs, biometric contactless operations along with RFID and Bluetooth connections. FSK is of two types depending upon the phases of signals get shifted. There are binary phase shift keying and also two phase shift or phase reverse keying. In this technique, the sine wave carrier takes two phases reversal such as 0 and 180 degree. BPSK is basically a double-side band suppressed carrier modulation scheme for message being the digital information. Quadrature phase shift keying. This is the phase shift keying technique in which the sine wave carrier takes four phase reversal such as 0, 90, 180 and 270. If this kind of techniques are further extended, FSK can be done by 8 or 16 values also depending upon the requirement. Thank you. Please like, share and subscribe.